Well, hey there. Good morning. We got a great session for you. In case you missed yesterday, that was all about resume renovation and how you dramatically change the storytelling across that document. Your resume is that, in my view, that document, its job is to spark interest, create desire for your skill set, and it really has mere seconds to accomplish all of this. Tune into that. You can watch yesterday's either on LinkedIn, on my Facebook, on my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to talk about LinkedIn and how to take what we did on our resume and really transform that into this three-dimensional sales brochure all about ourselves. We'll take you through all of that strategy. We'll also take you through how to use LinkedIn for your job search and your career management. And that means proper use of engagement tools and social media. And we're going to have a very full special session on Thursday, which is really 60 minutes of how to put together a social media share plan. Once you have a great LinkedIn profile, what do you do with it? That's on Thursday. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. will be my interview intervention session, where I'll teach you all the secrets recruiters use to help their individual beat all the other competitors. But those are secrets you can really use for yourself. Now, as we get situated for today, my remote control is working today much better than yesterday. Sometimes it decides to work, sometimes it decides not to. It's a little bit finicky. Well, we're here to take back control, and that means, even though I'm going to give you a lot of advice, very specific things I recommend, don't let somebody else think for yourself. This is about putting down that smartphone and getting out of the back seat, getting behind the wheel, or you're not likely to get to the destination that you're imagining. So we're going to have to take control here. We'll let you look at this for 1 second while I have a sip. Get right past that. So your resume and your LinkedIn are two very important components to how you take control of the discussion. Here's a little snapshot of all week in case you'd like to join in. All those are available on replay as well in case you're not available right at the 10 a.m. spot itself. Don't miss the intervention session. It's a great session, which will really teach you all about video interviewing techniques, even this kind of setup here. Because whether it's resume, LinkedIn, interviewing, social media, we have to start with this concept of understanding we're a product that has to be positioned, marketed, has to have shelf space in that supermarket. If it's a supermarket item, we have to think about. So welcome to today's Building Your Career Brand with LinkedIn and how to use it for your job search. So really, we're going to have to put something that we suffer from in our culture, even though it doesn't seem like we do, but we really do underneath, and that's modesty and humility. We have to put those things aside because we're going to have to drink enough of that Kool-Aid to properly tell your own story, not to get too much credit, but to get every ounce of credit that you deserve. Now, when you think about credit, why people want to hire you, yes, we'd like you to be capable and qualified. So absolutely, that has to be there. But we'd also like you to be interesting. We'd like to know what drives you, what makes you tick. Who are you? We want to get you a little bit. I get that. You know why this is important? Well, if I hire you, I'm going to probably spend more time with you than my loved ones. That's my entire waking life, really. So that's why we want to get you and feel like we can, have small talk chat in addition to you being really qualified for whatever this thing is over here. So we have to focus a little bit on this, but not let it overwhelm the story. And that's how you balance things to take control of the discussion. And I'll show you exactly how to do that with your LinkedIn profile. All of these items really layered in one at a time is about influence and how you affect other people's decisions about yourself. Now, for clarity, the resume itself is about catching or piquing interest, really just the essence and value of our career on a single sheet of paper. Lots more in the resume renovation lecture. You can check that out. LinkedIn, to me, is the polar opposite of that. How do you take that single sheet telling of your background that's really designed to make people jump out of their chair? They get to your resume and they go, oh, get them in here, get them on the phone. I have to speak with them. They aren't even really sure what they're reacting to yet, but they realize there's something really, really valuable there. So polar opposite to that scenario is, how do you take that skeletal system framework that you've developed on the proper resume, take it over to LinkedIn, and now layer in all the rest of the story, not the dull parts, only the interesting stuff, valuable stuff goes in there. And really transform it into a full three-dimensional sales brochure as if someone's looking over your shoulder to see what you're reading, doing, sharing, attending, living, and breathing the foundations of what your work is, in addition to a little bit of whatever your interesting, different tick, what drives you, which may have something to do with your professional life or may have nothing to do with your professional life, but it's still part of your story. Now, LinkedIn, besides being de facto social networking website for our work life, it's these other things here. Now, a business person thinks of LinkedIn this way automatically, but you have to think of LinkedIn this way automatically from now on. You have a career brand to manage forevermore. And that means as an individual, you have to take advantage of the communications, research, marketing, and advertising aspects, much more beyond what I'll teach you today on Thursday. So do tune in for that one. That'll be a piggyback onto this lecture, almost a LinkedIn part 2. Now, what do I do with it? So when we look at our LinkedIn network, now, LinkedIn used to talk about this all the time. Now they rarely talk about it, but it's a 3-level network. So say you and I'm a happy guy here in the corner. I connect with another happy person right there. No matter what my connection does to their settings, every one of their connections are also in John's pool. And no matter what their persons that they're connected to do to their settings, every one of their connections are also in John's pool. I get 3 levels of connections automatically if I connect with you, 2 layers behind you. So to me, there really is no bad connection because my connections are near and dear to my heart, but it's never about your connections. That's not what it's about. It's about getting access to every individual. If I could be connected to almost every individual on this planet, I would, because then I could leverage all of the data to influence them. In case you haven't seen me before, John Crant, author, career coach, and speaker, resume and LinkedIn guru as well. So if you are like most individuals sitting there suffering in your career, stuck in a place because of poor storytelling, I'm doing amazing things, but why don't I get picked for that next challenge? Or why am I not getting that next interview type situation? That's a storytelling problem. That's really us being in our own way. We're so emotionally close to the story we lived, we can't objectively see a different way to tell it that's still literally true, but much more valuable. That's what I do with my clients. So if you need help, check out my SelfRecruiter website. My services tab has all the detail. If you need to talk before you know which package is right, send me a quick email, john@selfrecruiter.com. We'll set up a time to speak. Now, my book's a great resource. You can check my website over on Amazon, has it as well. It's a roadmap. It'll help you a lot. Over on my LinkedIn, here's the LinkedIn lecture itself. Special version of this is on my SelfRecruiter website. Really, you can use it as a start and stop tutorial. It'll help you really improve your LinkedIn on the go. When you're on my LinkedIn, click on my posts and you'll find quite a number of articles and videos that will help you through a lot of the challenges that you're feeling. But it all comes back to this: no matter what information I give you, don't let somebody else think for yourself. Cherry pick what is right for you, put it in alignment, move it forward, and have some strategy to really move things ahead for you. Now, our job today is to move our brand that we've developed yesterday on the resume now into the digital world, even though that resume may be a PDF, which is also digital. But this is a different type of digital. This is more interactive digital. So I'll be talking about LinkedIn today, but I'm also really talking about 1 or 2 other platforms. Now, what are those 1 or 2 other platforms for you? I'm not really sure. They're different for every individual, but you can probably effectively manage about 2 to 3 social media platforms without wasting incredible amounts of resources of time. Only resource we really have. So you have to cherry pick. Now, if you're in creative, I don't understand how you don't use Instagram as part of your strategy about communicating who you are, what drives you, everything else. X or Twitter or now Threads or Blue, whatever the other one is that's coming along, wherever you need to be, that's a good place to be as well. We'll make some commentary in another year when we see what happens with the X development and everything else. Instagram, though, can be used many different ways. It's so important. I have a link to my Instagram right on my SelfRecruiter website. And there's nothing about what I do professionally on my Instagram. And you might go, but why, John? Why is it here on your professional website? Because a hiring decision of a career coach, an engagement decision to have someone redo your whole story across your resume, LinkedIn profile, which is very personal and intimate to you because you've lived that experience, that's a very difficult decision. And just like a hiring decision, I'd like someone on my staff, people want to know who you are beyond, of course, being professionally appropriate and have all of that background. Like, who are you? What drives you? What makes you tick? And so what you see in my Instagram, in case you maybe already navigated over there, you'll see me hiking up the Hudson Valley. You'll see me climbing Half Dome out in Yosemite. You'll see me almost dying in the desert about, I think it was about 3.5 years ago now, at 108 degrees on a hike I shouldn't have been taking at the end of August. But, that was the one day I was there. This was on my bucket list, almost became the end of my bucket list, but survived and got out with my heart racing at about 180 beats a minute for the last hour. Really didn't think I was going to make it. I'm like, wow, this is going to end badly. and then luckily I did make it out. And boy, what a lesson. As much preparation as I put in, there's always the unexpected. And that's the same with our career life. That's the same with our journey. So we have to think about not only what the normal, usual customer expected is, but what else can happen and what can I do to prepare for it? Now, social media, why does it matter? Well, take a look at the state of the world and you can make your own opinion. It has a lot of effects. It's here. We can't make it go away. Therefore, we have to chain this monster and somehow use it to our benefit and understand that really small changes change perception, and everything you put out there is something that essentially lasts eternally. And so we have to be careful about everything we kind of seed out to the network. But small changes change perception. So you think about all these different things. It's really second from the bottom is the most important. Proper use of social media, which is what I will teach you in depth on Thursday. We'll highlight it today. Is really how you stay on the top of people's minds that you seemingly have no real contact with, but they're aware of you. They're aware of you. They're looking over your shoulder, seeing what you're reading, doing, sharing, attending, all that kind of stuff. So it's incredibly valuable. And what I teach you on Thursday is how to spend 2 hours of homework to prepare it so you can spend just 2 minutes per day executing it. Then you can spend the rest of the time properly doing a real job search to get you the right things. Now, why will you get hired? A lot of reasons today, a lot of reasons you don't get hired. The basic reason is you need to be qualified for whatever this role is. You need to be able to deliver some solution, but that's not the reason I hire you. Do you see that here? No. I'm not going to hire anybody that's not capable or qualified, or I don't feel is capable or qualified. You don't even make the judgment level. That's such a bare minimum piece. That's not the choice of how to hire you. The choice of how to hire you is number one, chemistry above all other things. You cannot teach chemistry. Yes, you can teach chemistry building skills. Absolutely. In reality, I joke about this a lot in my lectures. I'm really shy and introverted, which usually makes my friends spit out their drink the moment they hear it because they have apparently never seen it. That doesn't change the reality of that's who I am just below the skin, even though I have this persona in my profession that I go out and speak to people. I show up in the suit. If I showed up in my 5-finger shoes and running tights and t-shirt like I'm out doing cardio, I don't think you would take my advice. So you have to look the part as well. There's nothing unusual about having two perspectives for yourself. Hey, good morning and welcome. Always lovely to have visitors and comment in. I appreciate that. Number two thing beyond chemistry, since I can't really teach the chemistry, is confidence. Confidence in you, confidence in if I roll the dice on you, I'm going to get something really, really interesting. So the chemistry piece, as I said, we can do a lot of technique to build that. Find out about the person, prepare in advance. That will be the interview lecture tomorrow. But I have to get ready for these things. And that means I have to also prepare. Why am I interesting? What makes me tick? Is that part of my professional story? Is that part of my non-professional story? Now, here's an example. This was a few falls ago. I was helping a gal finish up her renovation on her resume and LinkedIn profile. And we're just putting, this was end of October. I'm just putting the last little touches on the LinkedIn profile. And suddenly she goes to me, oh, I'm about to be a 4-time marathon runner next week. I'm like, what? You're about to be a 4-time marathon runner? And this is the first time John's hearing about this. We have to think about that. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with my professional life. It doesn't. This person was all like wonderful marketing background, lots of progressive responsibilities, lots of deliverables, great brands. What does this 4-time marathon runner have to do with anything? He said, well, you seem like you're getting a little mature. I have to work without a filter. A little mature to me. Most of us need to not be so mature at some point, and we need to shed a little bit. So we have to think about changing the way we tell our story and really changing everything that we do in this whole approach. So when you think about it, that means we're going to do unusual things. Like, by the way, maybe I told the Instagram story a little bit too early. Here are a few of those visuals off my Instagram to give the idea that this is simply another way I use Instagram to tell another aspect of who I am, because people want to know that piece of it as part of their decision-making process. So I want you to think about all those things and how you might use each one of those platforms. Or here I am, actually almost dying in the desert. This was at the beginning of the hike when it was all joy and amazing. Last people to do this hike signed in 2 days earlier. So there was no help coming. But as you can see, it was definitely a bucket list hike. Amazing. It took a wrong turn. Once we got to the top of the plateau and it was 108 degrees, we took a wrong turn in the excitement. And by the time we walked to the end of that plateau, we realized there was no way down and we had to go all the way back. That added 2 extra miles in that direct sun. And boy, that's when things were out of control. So you realize even by sharing something like this, you can share a lot of interesting story that has nothing to do with what you do professionally, and yet may help seal the deal on, oh, I could work with this person. This person could be on my team. Oh, I get them, because small changes change perception. So think about every aspect as we go through this, because it does require a fundamental paradigm shift, a complete change in how we approach things. Now, as we think about our LinkedIn profile and yesterday's resume and tomorrow's interviewing, the whole job is to teach them how to select you. So as you bring together your background, don't fall in the trap I talked about yesterday of trying to be only cookie cutter perfect. I'll just be cookie cutter perfect. So I'm so perfect, they just hire me. Let's go back to our 4-time marathon runner. Gosh, if you're the 4-time marathon runner, what does that say? Energy, drive, goal-driven, unstoppable. Oh, probably really good on my healthcare costs. I guarantee you they think about all those things in the hiring process on the back end. Why aren't we thinking about it from this end of the hiring process? So tell enough of the story that you're cookie cutter perfect, but you also step out of line, be interesting, different, special. Oh, 4-time marathon runner, put her on the list. I have to speak with her. I have to speak with someone with that kind of drive. Oh, I've run a marathon, or I tried to run a marathon. I have to speak with this person. People live vicariously, so don't forget enough of the interesting little tidbits sprinkled around, almost like a little bit of seasoning in the story. Again, for clarity, resume is about catching interest, piquing interest, making the awareness happen. LinkedIn, in my view, is about closing the deal, about you being the very, very best one. And to do that, we have to transform it into this sales brochure that they almost grab the bowl of potato chips or the popcorn or whatever else they might, and they just start reading our profile and they just can't stop because we're so interesting. That also helps you kick your competitors to the curb. Now, I mentioned this yesterday, but I want to mention it in case people didn't see yesterday's lecture. How do you handle all this contact information on the resume, which is really important and tied to LinkedIn? It's a single contact line with the 2 things you want them to do, easiest to get to. One side is the phone number, one side is the LinkedIn profile. Not quite convinced from my stunning resume? One click on the LinkedIn profile. Here's my full sales brochure of all the reasons why I'm better than the competitor. Or if you're already convinced, top right, click on that cell phone, call me right now, and let's book it. So this is an important setup to understand how you feed your LinkedIn profile to people. Now, spoke about this yesterday as well. We have to also highlight that we can work remotely, even if there's not a remote job. The workforce has changed to some degree. You have to think about different ways, if you haven't worked remotely, where you may highlight your ability to be effective at a distance. And all of these things really highlight that ability. Even speaking, presenting, conference calls, webinars, all those kind of things can do it, even if you haven't worked remotely yourself. Now, LinkedIn is really about networking, so we have to think about that. Traditional networking, it's usually a pretty short list. And I go, oh, so done with that. I really hate networking. Okay, But really, we hate networking because we misunderstand it. I mean, I'm shy and introverted, as I confessed earlier. I don't really like to go to networking events. Oh, I'm very good at it. That's a very different thing. But I'm like, I have to go to the networking event. And it's like, hi. And you have to do small talk and charm and disarm people, because your job at a networking event is to collect information. I know we think it's, well, I'm there to sell myself. Let me get a drink. And you are there to sell yourself. But really what you're there to do is to collect information. And when you get the perfect opportunity, then sell yourself. And that means we change the entire approach. Rather than, I have to go step up to people and pitch myself, why don't you just step up to people and ask them about yourselves? Oh, hi, what's your name? Oh, John. Oh, fantastic. What brought you here today? Oh, what do you do? Oh, that's so interesting. Now, how did you get into that? Now, out of curiosity, where did you work from? Where'd you work for before that? Oh, gosh, now how'd you start in that direction? So much information that could be valuable to me that I can simply get by opening people up like a flower and then stepping out of the way and let them disclose. You know what happens when I'm talking to 3 or 4 people in that kind of networking situation? They're all so excited to tell their story. I'm like, oh yes, step up onto the soapbox, tell your story, please, please. And then at the end, they suddenly go, well, John, what about you? I'm like, well, since you're listening, do you want to tell your story of value before they're ready to hear it, before they're really listening? So get all of their story and wait until someone asks you, and then disclose it. But you have to be ready to tell that story. It could be your 90-second or 30-second or 25-second. Well, I call it the best 25 seconds of your life. Concept of an elevator pitch. Now, one of my clients from years ago put together the best little elevator pitch for her background. And it was as simple as, you know, what I do, starting with a commentary, what I do is so interesting. Really? I just said it. It's so interesting. You know, architects, you know what they're really good at? Architecture. You know what they're not really good at? Running their business. That's what I do. In fact, I've done it now for 2 or 3 architectural firms. In fact, I'm looking for a new opportunity right now. Notice I'm not bruised. I'm not dejected. I'm not leftovers that is just looking for a home. I'm value, specific value, and I know it, ready to be placed. That's how you plant your seed. Notice I didn't even have to give much detail. Run the back end of the business. That's what I've done for 2 or 3 firms. So that's what real networking is. But now we're going to leverage it away from the usual customer expected into the more unusual places. And that means we're going to use LinkedIn to exponentially increase it and get out of this rut that we're stuck in, going to the networking event. Oh, I met 5 people. I commiserated about don't commiserate at networking events. You're there to spread your positive energy. Put this negative stuff up on the shelf and get it out of your way. You can go visit it anytime. Changing the equation is simply about changing the rules. These are rules you didn't agree to in the first place. Well, maybe there was some small, little tiny print with LinkedIn. It's like, have to agree to this. It's just like that little credit card, small print. And I know you read all that print as well, right? But really, your job is to use LinkedIn in the most effective way for you. And that means unconventional, creatively, a lot of interpretation of what I should do. And so if I go back to the basics, the first question is, well, whom should I network with? Whom should I connect with? And let's just give you the answer here. Everyone. I don't care if you're in India, Russia, China. I don't care if you're in janitorial services. None of that matters. You know why? Because it's not really about you. Connections are near and dear to my heart, but it's not really about that connection. It's about the 2 or 3 layers of connection behind, because you don't know who someone's parent or child is. You don't know who someone's neighbor is. You don't know where they live. They don't know the social interactions. Everybody knows somebody that could help you. And it's about getting access to that data that you can dig through and search through and find all sorts of things that can make your job search, career, everything else even easier. I'm a big believer in bypassing HR and going right to the decision maker and really filtering out a whole screening part of the process. We'll show you how that works coming up here. Be ready to network. We're going to have to do it all the time, every time, all over the place. To sum up the first part here, link with as many people as possible. That is how you grow your network. Now, let me show you 2 techniques, and then we'll show you how to maximize the profile as a selling brochure. 2 techniques. These are ones I used every day as a recruiter. In case you missed that part of my background. 7, 8 years as a traditional headhunter, recruiter on a desk, 3 different disciplines, 2 national market, 1 local market, also VP over the 100 office recruiting system by the time I left that company, and the national trainer across 100 office system as well. We're training all those recruiters to be effective. That's why I'm so effective at training individuals. Now, these are goals I used every day. These are techniques that will get you to your goals that you can use as an individual. This one helps you build a statistically perfect list of companies that would hire you tomorrow. Tomorrow they'll hire you. The only unknown is, do they have an opening? Which I would argue to you can never know. Looking at the job board, looking at the company website, all that stuff, that can't tell you anything. All that stuff posted, half of it is not true. Those companies have to look robust and growing and productive, and that's why they post a lot of that stuff, and they window shop endlessly, and that's not an indicator of an open job. So a good recruiter, if a good recruiter met with you and flipped out and said, wow, amazing person, I'd love to work with you. First thing they do is they run this technique on their database. You have your own database. It's called LinkedIn. Well, they run this on their own database, and they pull up 30 companies statistically perfect to hire this candidate. And they don't bother to look at those websites. They don't bother to look at the job boards. They simply pick up the phone, call 30 managers at 30 companies. Every single time it's 2, 3, or 4 individuals that go, oh, we need a person just like this. You do? Well, tell me about your need. Tell me about what's going on. What's the challenge that you're facing? I don't tell them about the magic trick. Like, oh, I knew you might want me, but I don't tell them about the homework, the magic trick. I just allow myself to be the person being struck by lightning in the best way possible. How does this work? 1 back, 1 forward. I'm going to go into LinkedIn and search for people just like me in some way, shape, or form. Not every way, shape, or form. Some way, shape, or form. And then there's a moment we're identical, and I'm looking for people that made 1 job move forward. And by default, they'll have 1 job backward. And now I look at the 1 back and the 1 forward before we were identical. And even if I was on a career progression, both of those companies have, or all 3 of the companies, even the identical company, they all have all 3 of those roles. I can go any direction possible. They would all hire me if they had an opening. 1 back, 1 forward. I'll show you another technique to build this list a little bit further on. This is the second technique that's really, really valuable for you. It's a 1, 2, 3 forward technique. It's great if you're just getting out of school and getting into the workforce. Also great if you're mid-career and suddenly wake up and go, oh, I'm so done with this. I'm so done with this. But now what? Now what do I do? Now this is my background. Now what do I do with it? This is how you reinvent yourself. So this one is a little more complex. I have some visuals to share with you so you can grasp it. But the basis is still the same. I'm going to go in and search for someone just like me, but I'm trying not to reinvent the wheel. Therefore, I have to find someone that made 3 job moves forward so I can potentially learn from what they did. I gather all those people together, and yeah, that's a lot more hard work. You know, aren't the important things you work on in your professional life also hard work? I start to gather them all together. This is my client calls me up from Atlanta, says, I think I don't have a career. I've been working 3 or 4 years. Don't know how to find a career. I'm like, I have this idea. Let's run this technique and see what we like. Now, in her case, what we did, maybe I can make this a little bit larger and come over top of it here. In her case, you know, we went to her original asset, in my view. I said, you've been working 3 or 4 years. You've done a little of this, a little of that. Now you're managing a health club. Nothing wrong with managing a health club. Doesn't want to do that, wants to find a career. I'm like, let's use this technique. And so her real asset, in my view, is her degree, which was from Clark Atlanta University. So we did a search for Clark Atlanta University. Her degree was in mass media. All these people, through the magic of search at the time I did it, were 3, 4, 5 years out of school. Essentially, they had the same asset. What did they go do with it in those 3, 4, 5 years? What titles do we elect? Oh, events. I'd like to work at events. Oh, events at Warner Brothers. Oh, I'd like to work at events in Warner Brothers. That sounds very exciting. Oh, I'd love to be a membership director. I'd like to be a recruiter. I'd like to help people. So we'll come back to that one. Let's look up here at Trish here. Well, gosh, how did she manage that? Well, here's my client here over on the right, Tahita. Well, Trish, what do you think her first role was? Membership management or membership associate, and then membership management. And voila, 3 steps in, she's membership director. So what is Tahita looking for? She's looking for a nonprofit or foundation around Atlanta, lots of those. She's looking for a member services role. I didn't remember what that is. Well, I don't either. But apparently they're going to love your background. Let's go sell it. Of course, she finds herself on the first step of her 3-step career goal. I can come a little bit larger now. Let's get back up on screen. And I have one more update to share because I've been telling this story a long time. She then moved up her next 2 rungs of the ladder, up to manager of member services and database, and finally up to director of membership operations, down a career track she'd never heard of before a phone call. That's how things can dramatically change with a little bit of interaction. Perception is reality, and you taking control of it, you taking control of how people perceive your product. But that means you have to have an idea for it in the first place before you even build out your LinkedIn profile. The amount of success you're going to get is all about the amount of preparation and hard work you put in to change this perception, this reality about you, and solve this. Not only am I cookie cutter capable, but I'm even exceptional and interesting. So let's show you how LinkedIn profiles should work. Now, I'm going to take you through certain aspects of my LinkedIn profile, which you can also spend time on yourself. You can borrow the structure you see and refill it with your own content type thing. But here's a few shares to give you this idea of perception changing reality. This was an event at Morgan Stanley. I'm not even in the picture, but I shared that one. Then I'm running out to do one of my lectures at the library, and I shared a meeting picture for that. A few years ago, I was doing an online boot camp, which is about to go online permanently here, hopefully in the spring. And someone had captured a picture of that while I was giving it. My father was a Catholic deacon. I saw him in this pose endlessly. I'm sure he would have loved it. Of course, he's passed away at this point. Very long, peaceful life. Here I am up at WHCR, Voice of Harlem Radio. I didn't even make it into the picture. My coffee and my book did. It's very interesting. It's 2 hours of drive time. There's no preparation. You simply have to show up there, starting at like 3 in the morning to get there, to slide into the microphone at 6, put the headphones on, and start talking off the cuff right away. It's really amazing. Done it 4 or 5 times now. Over on my LinkedIn, I share a bunch of articles that I share there as well that help people kind of move through things. The author books of the radio show host that he had on that month shared my content. Running out the door again to another lecture. Can't share the same darn photo over and over again. So I shared a picture that someone had snapped from the front row of one of my lectures. What do I see? I see 90 minutes into my lecture and Q&A, and I'm greasy and I'm where's my hair? Why's my nose so big? All those things that we don't like. Got to get over it. Look at the interaction. I got 1,500 views suddenly by breaking my brand just a little bit and showing that I'm a human being. Now, over to LinkedIn. I think really if you're branding your career, you have to use 2 different things. I think you have to, at least until you move to Threads or something else, you have to go to Twitter or X and as a secondary. I can go to Twitter or X. I can search 4, 5, or 6 words. Give me any position, any level, any industry, a few minutes to think about it. 4, 5, 6 words, not to pull someone capable or qualified, but to pull the exceptional people. You just have to allow yourself to think about, well, no, if they were really exceptional, what would they be reading, doing, sharing, or attending? And you simply put in a few keywords to go look for that activity. You've got the superstar right there. And then look at their background to confirm you're right. You do 2 or 3 platforms and you allow these things to flow across multiple platforms. And just like these shares of mine are flowing across the screen, you suddenly realize it has an effect. Now, I do exert a lot of branding control, and full disclosure, my other half is a creative director, so I get a lot of guidance on that. But you realize over time, it has a big, big help. Now, for our LinkedIn profile, we have to take all that content we developed in yesterday's deep dive interview. You can go back and watch that for resume renovation. Once you have that 8 or 9 pages of notes, it's really about filtering every single one of those items through a lens of, does it rise to the level of being the best business decision they're going to make today if they choose to hire me, which means I have to focus on these type of things as I talk about myself, because that's what really gets people excited. Let's jump into a real profile. When we use our profile, one of those aspects we have to consider is we're going to look, if you use it the way I recommend, behind the firewall of the company that we're interested in. Sam, I'm interested in ABC company. Oh, great. I want to go see ABC company. Oh, I can't. I have to apply online, all that kind of stuff. Well, how do I get behind the firewall of the company? I can reverse search the company, which I'm going to show you how to do coming up. I can build a list of all the people that surround the job that I would like to see, and then I can simply open their profiles, which triggers this marketing event of you having looked at them. This marketing event is critically important, and you have to think about how do you present when, oh, 6 people have looked at you, John. Who's looked at me? Can't resist that once we start looking at it. So if we start at the bottom here, I'm not even sure why these 2 LinkedIn members looked here. There's no purpose to privacy on LinkedIn. This is your professional shingle out there for the world, where you literally control every word of the story and commentary about you, or it does not display. That's meant for public consumption. There's no purpose to privacy here. Jonathan will more or less skip over Jonathan here. I can tell you, Jonathan does not work in the fashion or glam industry, so this pose does not work here. Also, if you're an owner and a founder and you'd like to be hired, you need to get out of your own way, because no one hires an owner or founder. We just don't do it. You know who hires those folks? VC firms that place CEOs in companies. That's who hires those folks. Other than that, if you want to get hired for a regular role, even in a much larger company, change your title to principal. It has all of the same benefit with none of the baggage. I can't tell an owner or founder what to do. They're not going to listen to me. They have their own ideas. Oh, but the principal has all that responsibility and will accept my guidance. Deborah Hero, I'm skipping over. Textiles, lighting, fashion, interiors. We have a focus. Great energy in the photo. But is she designing the fabric, answering the phones, making the coffee? I have no idea what's going on here. Setting the lighting? I don't know. Brad here, corporate affairs and communications, global reputation management, government relations, crisis comms. Oh, I can contact Brad. Oh, he looks the part too. Of course, full disclosure, one of my clients. Yes, you have to look the part too. What do I look like in that work life? Not what am I comfortable with today? Oh, I like my picture. Forget about liking your picture. Is that the person I would hire? Is that the person I would hand the responsibility to? Our profiles are the windows at our world. If you were in retail and had to get people into the store, what would you put in that window? What you put in your LinkedIn profile is going to draw people in and convince them. First impressions are everything. You need to use a banner. Nope, you don't have to be in the banner the way I am. Public speaker, I can get these shots pretty easily. But the purpose of the banner is to add focus to you, not distract from you. So just make sure you have a banner that supports what you do professionally somehow, even subliminally, and yet somehow adds focus to your personal image, which is really, really important. Now, let's talk about that headshot. 3/4 image. Gosh, I wish I was looking at camera. But you know what? As far as public speaker, 3/4 image works perfectly. Type over top of your personal image? No, not unless you want to be an independent expert. Works very well if you'd like to be an independent expert. If I wanted to go get hired by a company, I am pretty sure they'd go, oh, we like John's background, but I'm not sure his head will fit in the room. There's so much ego there. Very hard to get hired with that much ego like out there. I have to work as a team if I'm getting hired. Of course, just below my name is the headline, which I look at as a 100, 200 character, 300 character resume. How can you distill down the essence of who you are and why you're valuable for an audience that has no clue who you are? So what do I write? Author and career coach, resume, LinkedIn, and career branding guru, featured speaker, NYPL, Department of Labor, CUNY, and many others. Quoted, blah, blah. You can read it all. It's right there. Oh my God, I can contact that guy. Would you like to be contacted? Put your email address in the headline, one of the only places LinkedIn does not promptly hide it from 99% of the people, because that's their business model, and I won't be controlled. Will I get spam? Absolutely. Spam is all part of life, and I hope you wouldn't let spam prevent you from getting to your destiny. So back to the image selection. Make sure you pick the right banner image that works harmoniously with your self-image. Don't forget to switch directions on your image very, very easily to find the most powerful image, not the one that you like. Which one would you hire? Which one would you give the responsibility to? Have your right sales or marketing message about you as to why you're interesting, so that when people see all of your shares, they see your picture, they see this headline, they see the name, they go, oh, John looks interesting. Click, and they open your sales brochure about you. So all of this, you can click the little blue edit pencil, and it's a trial and error. For every one of these things, you go in, you try it, come out. How does it look? Oh, it doesn't quite look the way I expect it. You go back in. Same with the banner image. Try to move it and push it around and make it work for you type thing. All of these things take trial and error. As you get down to the next section below your name, title, and everything else, it's the about or summary section. And this is so much space. It's 2,000 characters of space, literally 3 screens long the way I use it. You notice there's no paragraph structure. Just like I had showed you yesterday, if I'm doing a client's resume, there's not a single sentence on that resume. Well, there may be if there's a quote somewhere about you, how special you are. Beyond that, there's not a single sentence because we live in a world where no one will read. How do I distill it down so it can simply be absorbed? Same concept here. We're so used to clicking out and going to the next thing that can catch my attention quickly, a TikTok world, essentially. They have to be able to just look, get it, look, get it, look, get it. So yes, I could have put these media hits in much more succinctly, but then it would have taken an extra second, 2 or 3. This way, you just see it in the brain, see it in the brain. So much room. I then list out a number of the organizations that I speak with. But if I just ran this list together, it'd become a block of text. And I go, ooh, block of text. I hope there's pictures. Well, there are pictures, but don't miss the great story. Don't miss NYC Service. Don't miss Rainbow Push Wall Street Project. Don't miss Goldman Sachs. Don't miss Harvard Business School Club of New York City. Boy, that was a hard gig to get. They like that background. And of course, I don't have that background, but I do have exactly the right information, which is why they booked me. Everything gets grouped for absorption. So even as I go down, I had more space left, and I rolled the dice on an entire paragraph out of my book. But I figure I've either got them or I've lost them by this point. I mentioned my full services, and then I begin to share a number of different things that affect perception. Now, on your profile, you have a white activity box. Yours might be empty. Maybe you haven't shared or done anything in the last 90 days. It's just an empty little box. But people see the empty little box, and then they assume you're not driven or living your profession. You're not living and breathing your profession if it's empty. How are you on top of the world if you're not involved in the conversation about what you do? So 4 or 5 quick shares of the right items can fill this box with visual content, never having to share again if you didn't want to. But Thursday's lecture will teach you how to do it with 2 minutes a day on a continual basis that really, really drives traffic right to your profile, drives interest in hiring. Now we get down to the normal traditional resume part of LinkedIn here. But this doesn't look like a resume. Absolutely not. Why would I make it look like a resume when those things aren't effective for most people? So you realize what we do is we parse out the sections of how we'd like to tell a story in the space. You can spend some time on my LinkedIn and probably absorb this a little bit clearer than just from screenshots. So everything gets parsed out. When I'm all done, I'm going to go back and add just a little tiny bit of all capitalization here and there to give it some structure. Too much all cap, they're not going to read very much at all. No all cap, probably not going to read very much at all. You have to make it so it's interesting, absorbable. Glance, get it, glance, get it. They move down, they can't resist. Here's a little more look at more traditional 2-line bullets and how that might work. And yes, those are all hard returns to control the visual. And then I get to the end and I put in a keyword block. Let's be clear. Most do not need a keyword block. Have a little sip. If you needed a keyword block, this is really how you do it. There's no special spot. You pick any listing you'd like, skip a few spaces, put keyword, colon, run them all together. Now, I don't know if you've been reading this keyword block while I've been speaking, but you might see Stephen Covey, Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins. Never know how I'm going to search him. I have to put them both in there. Tony, 5 O'Clock Club, 92nd Street. Why? All these things I have absolutely nothing to do with. Why are they here? These are all things that someone could search to find a person like John. You got to think like a detective, but they don't know John. They're not going to find John. I can't get these things into my story organically. I never worked for these companies, these affiliations, but I could toss them all in a keyword block, which is a clever way to come up right next to all the right people and be seen. So if you need a keyword block, that's the way you do it. All of this is trial and error, trial and error. It's not simply a one-time because it won't come out the way you expect. So keep working on it until the visuals are what you really want. Add in all sorts of picture or video or written elements that can all help move your story forward. Those things can also be featured. That's a separate thing on the top of your profile. So if you have a very impactful one that makes the statement about why you're so special, I'd like that always to be featured probably. As you go through here, I want to teach you a technique that will help you. This is from earlier in my career. I'm VP over that 100 office recruiting system. We did manufacturing, engineering, electrical, energy, on and on there. That's really just a clever way to put more keywords in there. It's a keyword block, really. Terrible technique for the resume where you have this single sheet of paper to communicate why you're valuable. But here on the LinkedIn side, we're not handcuffed by that real estate. And boy, this can really change things. If you think about how I told this story, if you work for any one of these industry sectors and you needed help redeveloping your resume or LinkedIn profile, then you did a search, guess who would come right up based on how I told that story? If there's a benefit to telling your story this way for some purpose like that, think about it. Same technique. This is from earlier in the career. Associated clients. Now that could get you in trouble. Be careful of those non-disclosures. Be careful of those trade secret agreements. I had the right to disclose every single client that I work with. I disclosed every single client that I work with, even though it says in many more. And many more I tried. I don't know. But I worked with every single one of these companies. Now think about the technique here. If you worked for any one of these companies and needed help with your resume or LinkedIn profile or coaching or my next interview, did a search, who would come right up? John Crant. So if there's a benefit to you telling this story this way, think about why you disclose this kind of detail. Just below that, would you like endless new connections forever? You can copy this line right out of my profile, paste it right into your own profile, stick it anywhere. Invite me, all invites accepted, Open Networker and Lion. People search for those terms, and when they find you, they expand their network, and you get the 2 networks behind them for free. Publications module. Most people don't have a book, may not have articles or things to put in there, but anybody can write some blog material. If you could write 3, 4, 5 articles, don't have to write any more, but at 3, 4, 5 articles, page and a half, it's a very short attention span world, on somehow the specialty or expertise that somehow surrounds what you do, almost like from a wise mentoring standpoint of the article, confident but not egotistical, sharing that wealth of knowledge. Boy, that is really valuable. And you could stick it on a free blog. It's really a demonstration of exactly why you should hire me in advance, that I'd like them to read even before the interview. I could share one of those 2 articles with them once my interview is scheduled, even to influence them before. And now I can stick those on a blog, connect it to my LinkedIn, use the publications module, even if they never click out, because yes, there is a link to click right out to see this. Even there it is. It's the little one right where it says career advice blog with a little gray arrow. They hide that link so no one ever sees it. No one ever really goes, but this influences how people think. Volunteering. I love to do this in person. I'll go, anybody volunteer? Anybody volunteer? And 2 or 3 people will go, I volunteer. And I go, I was interested until I realized it was volunteering. And then I realized it's all nonsense, right? You know what today is, right? Oh, this is volunteering. There's no compensation here. This is volunteer. I guarantee you this is real work. It's not nonsense. And so I deserve value for that. But if I put it under the volunteer module, culturally it gets dismissed. So for myself or my clients, I never use volunteer module. I use the organizations module, which has all of the same benefit, none of the dismissive baggage. Oh, this is how you align yourself. This is how you give back to community. This is what you're passionate about. So whatever you get involved in, this is another great way to put things in here and highlight them. I want to highlight that same technique right here that I talked about earlier. This is the same technique of a keyword search that I'm trying to get results from, but I want people to know this story so that suddenly John's coming up. I get a call from NYU Wasserman Center, the Career Center over at NYU, saying, hey, we're going to do this roundtable discussion. We love your talks. You want to participate? I'm like, oh yeah, I always love to try something new. Let's book it. And as I'm getting ready for it, I'm looking at Jessica's background, John Ladinsky's background, and Vincent's background. And I get to, of course, John Ladinsky, and I go, oh, he's got so many connections. I'm so jealous. I'm like, John, he's got a 30-year career. Let it go. It's like, I'm shy and introverted, but I'm very competitive. I want to win. But I'm thinking something different than you're thinking. I'm not thinking I want more connections than John Ladinsky. I'm thinking I want John Ladinsky's connections. I already have my own connections. I want his connections. And so by spreading a little sugar around in this story, giving the credit where credit is due across the team, anytime somebody brings up Jessica or John Ladinsky or Vincent, guess who also comes up in the search results? And of course, NYU Washington Center as well. Think about those techniques as you tell your story, because that's how you draw more audience to the profile. Skills endorsements module, it can take well more than 50 now. You need to put in everything you've ever touched. If I touch this laptop or this laptop screen, there we go. If I touch the screen would be on the list. Well, John, that's a pretty low threshold. You just touched it. Absolutely. I have exposure to it. It's on the list. Nobody expects you to be an expert at 50 plus items. This means you have exposure. Some of those things I'm an expert at, but you have exposure to this. And if they go, you know, I need to hire someone that has this background that's also worked on this or this, boom, suddenly that exposure works to your benefit. Now, all this extra content you put in, the LinkedIn system automatically regroups it, truncates it, so it does not overwhelm the visitor. If they want to see more information, they can click through any of this stuff. And I think I have a screen coming up here in 1 or 2 more seconds. It'll populate there. It'll all expand. And all of this extra detail is keyword searchable, which is why you want this kind of content in here. It's going to bring you many, many more people. Written recommendations, perfect world. You need 4, 5, or 6 of them. I think I have 52, 53, 54. I don't really know. There's a lot of them up there. Not a single edit. That's the secret to recommendations. Now, if you go and read them, your head will want to explode within seconds, because you're going to see all sorts of typos and grammar issues everywhere. It's like, oh my gosh, didn't John see this? I'm like, absolutely. That's why they work. I learned this in doing references as a recruiter. Absolutely no manipulation, never change their words. Very ethical on the recruiting side. Many are not. And so when it would come time to do the references, I certainly would not ask HR if I could do them, because they'd say, no, we're going to do those. I'd simply, as customer service, deliver the references to them. Wouldn't ask permission, just like with your parents. You do it, ask forgiveness. But my forgiveness ask is also delivering, here's the results you'd like. And you're free to call on your own as well. Speeds the entire process. So I'd have 10 questions. I'd capture verbatim what people said. And oh my gosh, is that ugly if you've ever transcribed that. Barely a complete sentence, over here, all over the place. But oh my gosh, tingle on the back of your neck. It's so real. First time my boss ever saw it as a recruiter, it was like, oh my gosh, I hope you're going to clean that up. I'm like, I'm not actually touching it. Take a second, read the whole thing, and tell me what your emotions are afterward. And it's like, oh, I want to interview this person. Absolutely. Don't change the reality. You realize that when you read through some of these. So when you ask for a written recommendation, someone says, could you write something for me? I'll just post it. No, but you don't have to write much. As much or as little as you like to say, here's the word, whatever you genuinely feel, I'm sure it'll be great. And then I am sure it'll be great, because it can never go live without you approving it. So roll the dice and you'll get some very, very interesting ones. Join groups. You need to join as many groups as possible. As you join a group, every member of that group is as if they're a direct connection to you. So when I start my share plan, which I'm going to teach you on Thursday, how to continually share all the time, that means my shares could land on any member of that group. It's not going to land on every member of that group, but wherever the LinkedIn algorithm thinks it might be valuable, it can now land on that group. So join as many groups as possible. You saw there's a SelfRecruiter group. Oh, I love that group too. Follow some influencers. You see I'm following Tony Robbins there. Really, maybe so I can get right behind him on stage, give him a little push. It's got to make some room, get a little long in the tooth there. And there's some other of us behind him. Follow some influencers, really important. Now, getting to the 500 plus connections, I already really did show you this, but we're going to just show you how easy it is right here. And then we'll show you how to reverse search the companies we wrap up for today. So first here, I go up to the unified search box and I simply go one at a time, invite me instead of quotations. So I get that phrase, invite everyone I see. I'm going to all invites accepted, invite everybody I see, no judgments. Open networker, same thing. Lion, same thing. You may get a few on Lion that don't belong. I work at Food Lion. I'm on the Lion team at the real estate company. Okay, few that don't belong. Most are very high-powered networkers, which is what the Lion means. Wherever you are in this particular process, take your first step and repeat and repeat and repeat. My view of the job search plan involves LinkedIn, and that means we have to create this list of organizations or company. 30 is the number. We have to devise those steps needed, working backwards like a detective. Well, this isn't really possible, but if it were, how do I align the sun, the moon, and stars working backwards to open up that pathway? Discover the decision makers. Well, I'm going to teach you that next. Overcome their objections. That's their job. Get a meeting and dazzle them. So how do I get to the boss or boss's boss or anybody else? Back to that unified search box. In this example, I'm searching. I'm going to search Informatica. This was one of my big clients as a recruiter, a cash cow, a lot of placements. But I get this drop-down menu. Don't click on that. That's a trip down the rabbit hole. So put in what you want, Informatica, click enter, and you get this nice secondary sorting process. Now, as long as I'm here, yes, I am looking for people that work at Informatica, but aren't there other companies I haven't thought of? So I have to dig around and find companies and go show me the companies. And there's 34,000 companies. Wow. Well, after you get past all these Informatica, who are the rest of them? I can tell you. They're all system integrators. They all either resell or install Informatica. And if I'm statistically right to work for Informatica, I'm very likely statistically right to work for a number of these other companies. This is an alternate method to develop a 30 list company list that is statistically perfect to hire you. But then I have to find real people. So I got to go back over and go, no, show me the people. What do I get? 2.5 million. Cold and in the ground. Before I get through that one, I know, I have to think. Should also mention, I only use the free version of LinkedIn. Everything I'm teaching you can do in the free version. So here I realize I really want ones in the US really working currently for Informatica. I don't need ones 3 years ago working for Informatica. Well, what do I get now if it's current companies? 1,615 results. I love that. I love that. But I can't look at 1,600 people either. So I'm going to have to put on the thinking cap, even on the free version. Maybe it's a VP I think is going to hire me. Simple VP search. Look at that. Really US, really currently. What do I get? 75 VPs. A lot of chiefs in that company. Maybe it's a director. Director, really US, really Informatica. What do I get? 228. Wrong direction. I've got it. You know why I have it? Because it's problem solving. Our job is to problem solve, is to try and it doesn't work and solve it again. It's a sales director. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking at location. Why don't I look right at New York City, even on the free version, really Informatica? What do I get? 3. I got 3 that I can go after. So I need to sit and think about these people that I can now go after and introduce myself to. And that's fantastic. But I really want to get to 5, if I can get to 5, because, well, I can approach 3 people, but if I approach 5 people at every single company, that changes the equation, changes the return on my investment. So let me dig around. Maybe there's a sales VP I can find. And suddenly, really New York City, really Informatica, 2 more sales VPs. Fantastic, fantastic. Now I've got 5 people, one of which will certainly be dazzled by me, hopefully more than one of which. But some of them are going to frustrate you, like send InMail. Please understand what InMail is before you send it. It is spam. Quite literally, the definition of spam, it is paid email, which is spam. It may not seem like spam to you, but if you're a high profile target, like a public speaker or a hiring individual, my LinkedIn inbox is filled with well over 1,000 unopened nonsense messages of spam from people sending stuff that isn't valuable. Some good messages get lost in there as well because of all the nonsense. But I still want to connect with Nick despite this. So I load his profile, and just hidden under the ... is the connect. That's the whole business model. They can't really hide that part. So I connect with Nick. A message I write one time ever, copy and paste forevermore. I like to connect with other professionals in our niche or niche. And of course, I'd love to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. Says you don't know me, I'm professionally appropriate, little stroke to the ego, you get a lot of acceptances. This is how you begin to build your equity and knowledge about these companies. You download my free, by the way, on my website under the blog, you download my job search management system and you begin to track all this information, learn the players, what's my next step, and work your whole process. That brings us to the end for today. We're about 1 minute over, but I may have started 1 minute late. Thank you for joining in. Now, tomorrow we're going to do interview intervention, all the secrets to really, well, this is today's lecture, all the secrets to really help you stand out in the interview process, where your goal is to teach them how to select you. to showcase why you're special. You're really there as the doctor to diagnose their issues rather than the horse that they're, checking your hooves and checking your teeth type thing. You're there to persuade them. Thursday, we'll do a whole session all on career evolution, and that will be all about how we're going to move things forward. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Please do like, comment, share wherever you're watching this, whether it's on YouTube or LinkedIn or over on my Facebook. And if you need help, check out my SelfRecruiter website and send me a quick email at john@selfrecruiter.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great day.